Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Be More podcast, where we inspire you to be more of every role within the Salesforce, Slack, MuleSoft, and Tableau ecosystems. For today's session, we are exploring what it means to be more strategist. And I'm joined today by Janeen. So if you could start by introducing yourself for our audience, please.
Sure. Hi, my name is Janeen Marquardt. I noticed you skipped trying to say that, and that was probably a smart move. So Marquardt, like a quart of milk, I say, not like a market or a tennis court or anything. So for anyone who's curious, I am based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I've been part of the ecosystem for more than 20 years and a consultant for over 15. I've got around 20 certifications. Not counted in that is my PMP because I did start off as a project manager, so not technical at all. And if pressed, I will tell you I do not code, but I understand enough to know if you're yanking my chain, as I used to say. So don't try to lie to me about how long it's going to take because I'm a project manager. But in some ways that served me well. I started off more traditional education with an MBA. And have a community group here, the Architects in San Francisco Bay Area. I do a lot of things. I'm really passionate about mentorship, and recently became part of the same class of MVPs as our friend Tom here. So.
Awesome. Wow. It's great to have you on today. And I'm looking forward to exploring what it means to be a strategist. So maybe if you can set the scene for us and kind of set out what it means to be a strategist, like what does that role entail, maybe typical role and responsibilities.
Sure. And I think it's one of those things that I don't know if people go, hey, I think one day I'd like to be a strategist. I think it's I think it's one of those things you sort of evolve into, because it's not really an entry level job, and it's sort of something that you find a passion for. And like I said, I've kind of gone through a lot of things over the course of my career and pivoted a number of times. So starting off with more of a business focus and analysis in a lot of ways, actually financial analysis early on, and into business analysis and a lot of project management, a lot of early technologies. And then when I found myself in the Salesforce world, I actually did start off as a hands-on implementer. But I think that that's a really good way to understand the platform, to really know what you're doing. And as a consultant, right, understanding customers, their needs, their wants, translating that into what that actually means, what they actually need, and figuring that out, not just being a yes man, not just delivering, as we like to say, that purple button, just give me that field, right? We're not just doing those things, but really trying to get to the heart of what that means and why they need that thing. And so that eventually evolves. And the combination of business analysis and technology eventually works its way up. I mean, there's almost two paths you go. If you're truly, truly technical, if you really like the technology, you might head down you might head down developer / architect, right? Up and out. Or you might, if you're more BA and you're more business oriented, this is more of that path. And so I see these kind of things, up and out. So you might stay technology, you might stay more business. And this is kind of where those two things go, if that helps.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. And I love the fact that you kind of have the knowledge, at least from your kind of own background, to be able to kind of question some of the technical decisions. I'm sure that helps you on the day-to-day as well, right?
A ton. I mean, I don't think you can really be a great strategist if you're not well-rounded. I think it becomes, you're too short-sighted if you've only got one point of view, and if you haven't really experienced it. Like you wouldn't trust a brain surgeon if he'd only ever read about it in a book, right?
Yeah.
And you also wouldn't trust a brain surgeon if he's like, well, I've watched a couple, or I've done a couple, but I haven't read the books. So I haven't had the right. I mean, you kind of want both things, right? Or I
Yeah.
want that brain surgeon to have had a little experience doing some of the easier things first before he takes out the whole frontal lobe. I mean, there's kind of different, metaphors we could use for these same analogies. So I really do try to I really feel like a good strategist is well-rounded and experienced. The same way an architect isn't like, I've taken 3 architect exams and now I'm an architect, but I've never actually done the work, or I've never been a BA, or I've never been a
Hmm.
developer. Architect is a pay your dues kind of a role, right? So is strategist. To a degree, so is BA, right? BA is not an entry level role. So,
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And thinking about this now as a role, what type of other people do you interact with as a strategist?
you interact with everybody. You really,
Hmm.
and if you are being used appropriately, if they're
Right.
taking advantage of your skill set, you ideally should be in the pre-sales world. A strategist in the pre-sales mode is a great person to have because they can listen for some of the signs that you might need a deeper strategy. Um, uh, what's the word I'm looking like? A deeper strategy phase before you go into like implementation
Hmm.
project,
Yeah.
because some customers really don't know what they want, right? Sometimes the customer is like, and the way we do things here, sometimes it's like, I've just bought Sales Cloud, I've just bought Service Cloud, I've just bought CPQ,
Yep.
now implement it. Fine. You may not need a strategist. But if a customer is more like, I don't know what I need, but I know we want to improve sales, we want to improve follow through, we want to improve
Hmm.
something, we want to improve productivity, we want to decrease, revenue leakage. That's when you might need a strategist. Sorry, we might have some guest appearances during the course of this. This is Cooper. He's always hungry. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait now.
Your own
Um,
strategist in
yeah,
training.
exactly.
Yeah.
His strategy is to just look really cute all the time and just and beg. So
And get the
it's
food.
very, very effective.
Yeah.
Um, but so so a lot of customer interaction, and a lot of team interaction. Yeah, and then
Okay.
really, but most of my work is done in that upfront phase. As Brian said in the earlier session that, with Vanessa and Pay's Baba group, um,
Hmm.
discovery. You might have an early strategy phase before you even move into your project phases, even where you're really just focused on what is it we want to achieve, what are the business outcomes we're looking for, and how do we think we might think about getting there. You may not even know what products you need. We're just looking at outcomes, and I'm not even going to worry about, do I need Sales Cloud or CPQ or RCA, or I'm not even going to talk about that. I just want to look at what do I need and design what the solution needs to be, and we'll worry about how we achieve that solution later. And so that's where we're best engaged. I will also say that a strategist on your staff leads to longer term relationships, better, deeper projects. Instead of saying I've got a 6-month implementation of Sales Cloud, CPQ, whatever else, I now have a
Hmm.
3-year roadmap
Yeah.
with this customer where the first phase might be this thing, but the next phase is this, and the next phase is that, next phase is that, looking further and further out. And it just leads to longer term, better relationships and deeper understanding of the customer's needs.
Okay. Awesome. I love that because better relationships, deeper understanding of the customer's needs, I think that ultimately lead to more successful systems, hopefully. Hope that everything goes well and higher adoption, right?
100%. Part of the strategist role is to understand the role of change management in the overall architecture of the system as well. And so, I always say, like, I don't talk about change management as optional. I don't talk
Mhm.
about project management as optional. I don't talk about my BA as optional. Like, none of these things are optional parts. Architecture is not optional. Like, none of these things are optional.
Yeah.
These things are built in. And it's like, oh, you want to start cutting something out? I'm like, let's start cutting out features, right? like, what's the MVP of this? How do we start delivering value quicker
Mm-hmm.
and breaking this down into smaller phases? But we're not going to not do training. We're not going to not do change management. Right? We're not going to not
Yeah.
like manage this. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy with your system. You're not going to be happy with your implementer, with your consultant. You're not going to be happy with Salesforce. And we're going to end up having, a lawsuit at the end of the day. And you're going to end up replacing this, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not going to take whatever if you come to me with your solution and you're like, just make this field and make this layout, I'm like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I have
Yeah.
zero problem saying no to a customer, because I try to say it more gently if I can, but like I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely will try to say, hey, let's talk about why you want that field. Let's talk about why you want that, that layout. Let's talk about what it is that somebody does for a living, how they want to interact, so that we can try to understand, how to achieve the goals they're looking for. And that's always, much, much more effective in getting them to that end goal and the longer term needs. Otherwise, they're going to come back in a year, maybe to somebody else, and say,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't achieving what we want.
Yeah.
The problem is they're going to pick it up and they're going to move it somewhere else, and we're going to still have the same problems.
Yeah, I totally get that. And that's something that I sometimes struggle with a little bit myself as a solution architect. Like, I'm very focused on the solution side of things, but you're right. It does boil down to the business requirement, which should be solution agnostic. Like, it should just be, I need to do this type thing. Which is super important. So thinking about this now, if you were to describe a strategist with particular skills or attributes, like, what do you think? What type of words would you use to describe that person? Like, are they curious? I think you've already said not afraid to say no, which is, I think, a great skill for many roles within the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Are there any more that you kind of chuck in there?
I feel like we've sort of described the typical 4-year-old. I say no. I say why pleasantly.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah. Basically that. I mean, I think, those things are really good to have. I think being a fast learner, because one of the things I do is primarily as a strategist, in some ways, once I'm done with that initial phase of the project and we've handed it over to the folks like yourself, the folks who are going to solution, now we know what the what is and what the plan
Mm-hmm.
is. Even though it's really hard for me not to solve it, I say, this is what we're going to do, because, and I came from,
Yeah.
I've spent my time as a solution architect. I've done the solutioning and I can architect these systems. And that is often part of it, right? I don't work in a silo. I work with my team. And very often the deliverable is an end-to-end and will have a lot of solution in it, and we'll have a lot of business process diagrams, and we'll have a lot of, we'll have a lot of everything in it. So I would say, you should have all the skills, but like you have to
Mm-hmm.
learn fast. We'll do workshops up front. And so we might find that I'm learning to become an expert in somebody's business in a matter of, 2 to 4 weeks. I've got to learn everything there is to know about the concrete construction business, or about
Yeah.
manufacturing of large machines that cure cancer business, or so it's like, you've got to be able to pick this stuff up and the new terminology, and they'll use some of the same words that we're used to hearing, but in different ways. And it's hard sometimes, right? So I'd
Mm-hmm.
say I got to teach this old dog a new trick every single month. It's really hard. And I've had to let go of perfectionism,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
And like I keep saying to myself, don't let perfectionism get in the way of progress. I've just got to get these thoughts down on this paper. I'm a really good procrastinator, and so it's been a real struggle to like just get it down, just work on it, just put something, and we'll clean it up later.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm really excited about all the kind of new tools out there. I haven't yet really been able to press the new AI tools into into usefulness yet, because I feel like so much of what it is I want to say is just in my head. I really still just have to put it down.
On paper. Yeah.
I just have to do it. Like it isn't really anything I've been able to utilize AI for yet, but I hope someday to figure out how to do a better job of simplifying my output in my head so that I can have AI help me with more of it. And maybe the AI tools need to get better so that I can, so that they can do more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it will get there so that I can, have to physically do less, but still have it be all of my thoughts be correct. Maybe I can somehow get it trained that way. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's not that it's not a challenging role, because I think you have to know all the things, right? You've got to understand, you've got to be an expert in business processes. I have to ask about billing and the structure of their go-to-market strategy and products and pricing and, cyclical things like that. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
understand their business, productivity, needs and things like that. And also technology stack, and not just Salesforce, but how it connects to other systems, workdays or ERPs or, data warehouses. And like, so it's not, I mean, I'm not just Salesforce, I'm all the technology. So system architect, solution architect, a lot of different things. Um, People are always kind of surprised when we start to talk and they didn't know something about me. Like, oh, I didn't know you did all those things. I'm like, yeah, I do all those things. um, and so, and then I have to put it together and be able to explain exactly, here's what you said. We understood this to be the challenge you're trying to, that you're facing, that we want to overcome. And then here's how we propose getting through it. And, here's what we're going to do first. And here's the details around that first thing we're going to do. And here's what we see over the next, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years out, what we can look at, right? Not in a lot of detail, but here's what's on the horizon for you based on some of the things you've said.
Mm-hmm.
By putting that plan together, you're setting them up for that long-term relationship. So just a ton of things. So yeah.
Awesome.
So all the skills. So you need all the skills.
All
Did I
right.
miss
Awesome.
any skills? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And ultimately, like on reflection, I'm listening to what you're saying and then thinking, yeah, well, actually, there's been quite a few clients that over my time, like in the ecosystem myself, that could have done with this type of long-term strategy,
Yeah.
and like in particular to remember to not forget or overlook change management, because it's so important. And I have seen projects struggle and fail without effective change management. So I think it's really important. Thinking about this now as a journey yourself, as a strategist, is there something that if you were to start that journey again,
Mm-hmm.
you would do differently or you would change?
I think there's elements of the meandering nature of my career journey that actually suited me well for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I I think that the broad nature of all the things I've done have helped. Um, I often like to stun the kids with the fact that I didn't have computers in school. Like I think the advantage today is that you can come out of school and get started earlier, right? Like, so you don't have to wait that
Yeah.
long. So if it seems like something interesting, the expand your scope of knowledge, learn all the things. Don't don't keep yourself so narrow that you can't, broaden later. But it's not going to happen tomorrow. So I mean, I think I would say, um, I might have given myself more credit for like the math, right? Like math was hard. It took me a long time to get through math in school. I had to do algebra, both algebras twice. Like I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
good at math, and they didn't really encourage girls to do the maths. And I mean, that wasn't the thing. Um,
Right.
but I would say, like, stay in school, kids. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, like I think you know try to push yourself in those areas that I think are harder. Like I'm really struggling. Like I'd really like to do more of my architect certifications. I'm really struggling with that PD1 because I can read that Apex code and I know enough about it. I'm going to be able to get the rest of them eventually. I'm not really that hands-on anymore, but like I don't know that I can get like PD1, right, as a
Uh-huh.
certification. I don't know how important it is, but I feel like it. So I'd say push yourself, kind of give yourself the chance while you're doing those things hands-on, while you're in it, while you're getting that experience, um, learn and learn all the things. Um, and even some of the things that you don't know if they're that important. Take that writing class, take that
Uh-huh.
public speaking class.
Yeah.
Uh, I will say that during the pandemic, I had a really, really great boss that was really, really good about the presentations and speaking. And I learned to do so much more, even in giving presentations and setting up PowerPoints and public speaking, and going to these conferences and speaking made me so much more confident. And I think a better speaker. You'll have to let me know after this. Like I think a better public speaker than I had been before. Like just push yourself in every different direction. Um,
Mm.
I wish I'd pushed myself earlier in different ways and sort of expanded myself younger, because maybe I would have achieved more earlier in my career. I feel like I'm like, in my reality, I feel like I'm closer to my downswing here, like, kind of nearing the end of things. But I also feel like I'm, you know, I could feel like there could be a lot longer left, but so it's
Okay.
tough. Like, so push yourself, do all the things. Don't be like, well, that's not really my core competency, so I'm not going to go take that writing class. Take the writing class, take the
Yeah.
speech class, take the math class. Do it. Be curious and don't ever stop learning. I still take classes. I still take certifications. Um, Years and years and years. Just keep doing it. So like,
Yeah.
don't stop doing that. Yeah.
Well, I think that's solid advice. Like, we are all still learning and we should continue to learn each and every day. If we stop learning, then we've got a slightly different problem like upon our hands. I think the thing about public speaking is definitely something that I can relate to. It's something that I used to struggle with, and I used to kind of feel like physically sick before I would speak at an event or do a presentation, And now I'm kind of doing it, living it, breathing it type thing. I think the good thing with the Salesforce ecosystem is there are lots of user groups scattered around that you can use as a dry run or a practice for another session, or just in general to build up your confidence as a speaker. It's much easier to speak in a group of 20, 30 people than it is 100, 200 people. So I think that's great advice. We are having to bring this session for today towards a little bit of a close, but before we do, is there anything that you'd like to change or make people more aware of about the role of a strategist? Like, is there a common misconception or like a myth that you would like to kind of clarify or confirm, so to speak? Yeah.
Um, I don't know if there's any myths out there. I think I'm not sure if people really understand the role or even really know that much about its existence. I know, at least in this morning sessions, like Salesforce has a strategy design certification. And that's, even as Brian Shea had said earlier, we don't really do strategy design so much. That is kind of a Salesforce-ism for it. Um,
Yeah.
Strategy is kind of a discipline, if you will, and it's the cousin to architecture in some ways. It's the overlapping business slash technical element to it. I think it's a critical piece of every project, and I don't think it should be overlooked. Even when you do think that you know what you want, I don't think it ever hurts to have a strategist paying some attention. I think making sure that the strategy for the project and the execution is sound. Um,
Mhm.
I think that anybody who has any interest at all should consider it as a path at some point if you want. I mean, eventually most people do look for kind of a what's next, and so I think it's a great place to look. I think BAs eventually who might want something more, but who don't feel like deeply technical, it's a great path. It's definitely one of the paths. I
Mm-hmm.
think
Yeah.
same for architects, it's a great path. Um, it's really super fascinating, super interesting. I enjoy it, and eventually, I think a lot of folks who, when we start off being the doers, as I like to say, hands on,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately we sometimes get to that point where we don't want to be that anymore. We want to be the mentors, right? We want to be the
Yeah.
people who oversee people who are doing those things,
Leads.
and we want to be more sort of thought leadership. It's a really great place to do that from. Um, and so I encourage folks who are getting a little later in their career looking for what's next to consider it. And if you've got questions about it, I'm happy to talk to you about that. I can be found on LinkedIn if you see my name. Really me.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to connect and talk about that. I'm also passionate about mentorship. So I do encourage you to find a mentor. If
Mm-hmm.
you are looking for one, that's one of the things that's been really important to me. So that's
Okay.
really
Awesome. Well, I think that's great, solid advice. Like, as somebody who, like, by my own admission, has really like just touched on strategy a little bit. Like, I've kind of teased it a bit, but I've never gone like fully into it. I pursued the certification. It taught me some new things that I'm now using as an architect to like inform my clients'
yeah,
strategies. I think that's great, solid advice. So thanks for joining us today, and hopefully we will
pleasure.
inspire some more people to explore this themselves.
Hopefully. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.